YouTube Ozzico and the Godows is back with AFC South record predictions for the 2023 season. We've been doing this for every single NFL division. Still a couple more to go. Eventually I have my playoff and Super Bowl predictions. Got a bunch of YouTube shorts rolling out now as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications on. A few guys suspended and even cut from the AFC South this morning due to the gambling situation going on. So that makes things somewhat interesting here. So starting with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have them going 12-5, and of course Twitter subs the whole way through all these division record predictions, best and worst case scenario. But I have the Jaguars going 12-5. It's back and forth between 12-5 and 11-6, but I like this Jaguars team. I mean, they almost didn't make the playoffs because some games they lost earlier in the year, which I thought they choked away. So they do have to kind of make sure that's in the past because they did do a bad job closing some games out, and there was games where they were extremely sloppy, and they almost didn't make the playoffs, almost didn't win a division with that Titans game at the end of the year. You know, Titans depleted down to Josh Dobbs. They did control the clock, which limited the Jaguars' chances, but that's a little scary too. But they get in the playoffs, and I think the first half of the Chargers game was a little fluky. I didn't love the play calling either. Things really weren't going their way, but that second half of that playoff game was just pure dominance. I actually watched that game again not too long ago because it was on and it was an entertaining game. I had nothing else to do. The second half of the game was just pure dominance. It looked like a heavyweight versus a weaker opponent. Impressive on all phases of the game. And I think this team's got a pretty complete roster. You know, they have Trevor Lawrence, who's only getting better. The jump he made from rookie year to last year can continue to make a jump because he's supposed to be that good. ETN made a big jump last year. We actually got to see him, and he can continue to get better. Running back, Tank Bigsby's the second string running back most likely. It's a pretty good backup running back. The weapons were already good enough last year, but they had Calvin Ridley, who people are forgetting is very solid. I don't think taking a year off is going to, for a receiver, I don't really see that as much of an issue. There's other positions where, yeah, it's an issue. I don't really see it in terms of receiver. He's going to be fantastic on top of Christian Kirk, who's getting better. I mean, so it's a really good team, like all the way through the offense here. The offensive line, I guess, is the question. It's very well coached. It was good enough last year. The durability issues are the questions now because Cam Robinson was hurt last year. He's also suspended. Walker Little would have been a first-round pick a few years ago, but durability issues was a major concern, but he's definitely very good. They draft Harrison, who I think could be solid. I think he fits Doug Peterson's offense, and they'll coach him up very well. I think if the guys are in there, even if it's not Cam Robinson, I think they'll be okay. You know, not great, not bad at all. Will they be in there? What's the durability? What's the health going to be? That's the question. Defense is not going to be a stellar, like superstar defense. It's a pretty good defense, though. They make plays. They don't really have like a big-time player, but they got good, like it's complete. They got good players across the board, good young players. I mean, Josh Allen could be a superstar player. Rashawn Jenkins was making plays like crazy last year. Corners are good. Tyson Campbell is an up-and-comer. Darius Williams they got. Trayvon Walker's going to continue to get better. Devin Lloyd's going to continue to get better. Foyala Okun's one of the better linebackers in football, are, kind of close to that. So Andre Sisco, I think, has a lot of upside. So they're a unique defense. They'll throw some blitzes at you. They stop the run. That defensive line, not a lot of like giant names on that D-line, but some solid players. They'll stop the run first, which I love. I just like this team. I was back and forth between 11 and 12. I gave them 12 because I do like the team and like where they're heading. Could be a sneaky team. And kind of going back to them being dominant in the second half of the Chargers playoff game, they went to Kansas City, and they were pretty good in that game. They could have won that game against the best team in football. They could have won it. Agnew had that fumble. They could have won that game. So this is a very solid team here. I got them going 12-5. They're taking over the AFC South now. And, a bright future, obviously. Going with the team that they were battling with kind of last year, the Titans. Have them going 7-10. The years that the Titans were winning this division, I was kind of all over them going into the year. So this year, I'm not really going to be all over them, though. But, I mean, They're tough. They're tough because I almost went 8. I thought about 9 wins as well. I was back and forth between 7 and 8. Like, I was actually really having a hard time with some games. I'm like, these games can go either way. Maybe I game an upset win. I'm like, And then Nicholas Petit-Frere was suspended for 6 games this morning. Like, is that going to be... That's kind of big. I was going to say, is that going to be massive? Maybe not, but it's kind of big. The offensive line already struggled as it was. Your right tackle, who was I thought was the bright spot of our offensive line last year, I'm about to say goes down, but I guess he goes down for 6 games, but not because of injury. I guess they have replacements. They like Radens more at guard. Skoronski has more upset at guard, but if he has to play tackle, he's going to be very good there. So do they go Dillard and Skoronski? Jalen Duncan, I love that draft pick. A lot of upside. He would struggle right away, though. So it doesn't help the offensive line, which might have been the very worst in football last year. Now they don't have Dennis Daly out there anymore, so that's good, but... it's tough. That's tough. So that didn't help them this morning when I was leaning between 7 and 8 doing this video on the same day. These AFC South guys get suspended, because the Colts too. I think they got a tougher schedule actually than I originally thought as well. The Titans. I mean, Derrick Henry's still going to be a stud. Technically the offensive line gets better. We don't know what Dillard's going to be about, but mainly with Skoronski. But then Petit-Frere suspended for 6 games. It's so tough, The receiver unit's brutal. They need DeAndre Hopkins. They need somebody. I'm worried if they got Hopkins, it would be like Julio or Robert Woods, though, too, at the same time. Tannehill's jobs, because he's kind of declining a little bit. Not a whole lot. But I guess compared to like 2 years ago, it's pretty decent difference. And just having those receivers. I like Treylon Burks. He's going to be solid this year. I'm not thrilled about any other guys. They're a little inconsistent and just not the greatest. I mean, guys like Kyle Phillips could step up, but it's tough. Tannehill's job gets harder, and then guess what? If you thought Derrick Henry was seeing stacked boxes before, holy shit, it's going to be even more now. So his job's even harder. So I like adding Tyjae Spears. Maybe he can get involved in catching the ball. But that's tough. With the offensive line's a question. Adding Skoronski's huge, but running game's not a question, but it's going to be tougher. I think there's going to be more stacked boxes to pass. It's tough. Defensively, I like this defense. I think it could be the most underrated defense in football because they've had the best run defense for the last 2 years, and I really value, the NFL does. People don't realize it, stopping the run. You have to stop the run to win big games. The Titans are the best in football doing it. Jeffrey Simmons is a big part of that. I think coaching's a big part of that. They did lose Jim Schwartz. He wasn't a huge part of calling that defense or anything, though. But that's something. They get Harold Landry back. They didn't have Harold Landry last year, so that's big. The pass defense could get better, but teams were so afraid to run the ball on the Titans that they pass, like crazy. I think the defense will be solid. Will the offense make their job tougher? Maybe, but I think this defense is actually very solid, very, very good. The best run defense in football. The offense is tough. And you look at it multiple ways. The Titans were the most depleted team in football last year, and they were very, very close to upsetting the Jaguars and making the playoffs, winning the division while being on a giant losing streak, probably because they were depleted. So if you look at it that way, it's like, okay, they got to be better this year. But it is a new schedule. Some guys might be declining. The Petit-Frere suspension's not great. The schedule's tough. I did even have them winning some games that they might not win. So I was back and forth 7 and 8, 7-8 wins. I ended up going 7. It's tough because they're such a well-coached team. If they're healthy, they're better than a 7-win team. So that's why it's tough. But I don't like the start of the schedule. That was the schedule I did not like. I did not like for them. So that was a big part of predicting the record here. So if healthy, they might actually, comparing roster to the record, the roster might be better. So that is tough. So we're through the Jags and the Titans who were battling last year. I do think, look at the Texans and the Colts. I think they're, teams with a lot of upside because of the young pieces they have, especially at quarterback. And we said the Jags, it kind of was Titans versus Colts for a bit there. It felt like it was the Titans division for a bit. And the Jags kind of, they took it last year, but it's really their division now. But I do think there's a team coming actually sooner than maybe other people think. And it's a team I have actually finished second in division, so I kind of threw you off a little bit. We talked about the Titans second, but I have the Texans. Maybe this is bold. I have the Houston Texans winning 9 games, and I can consider a lot of things. Of course, the range. We talk about the range with our Twitter subscribers. best case, worst case scenario for every single team when we do these. But the range could be pretty big because there's probably people out there predicting them win like 4 or 5. I think 4 is ridiculous. 5 games, I think 5 is ridiculous as well. But they could have a pretty big range where it drops down. But I actually, looking at the schedule, looking at the layout of the schedule, we'll talk about their roster in a second, with what they're doing, the pieces they have. It's possible they can win double-digit games. It's actually, to me, people think I'm probably crazy. To me, it's possible. The way I look at things, look at the schedule, look at the team, I think they're doing a great job. And, of course, they're not fully ready yet because they got a rookie quarterback in there. But to me, C.J. Stroud was my favorite quarterback in the draft. I think he was the most pro-ready. He's very accurate. I mean, they're going to run a 49ers-like system here. D'Amico Ryan's coming in, bringing Slowick with them. It's pretty simplified for the quarterback. You know, they're going to focus on running the ball. There's going to be a lot of play action. But they got a quarterback that can use his legs. I like in the passing. Like, he's not a run-first guy. He can use his... And that was kind of a knock people had. Like, and he ran well in that playoff game, I should say. But is he fast enough? Is he the most mobile? He's mobile to escape the pressure and throw on the run. That's beautiful. That's better than being, because you're not going to win a Super Bowl if you're a run-first guy. So, and his accuracy is great, and his deep ball is great. The velocity on the ball is great. So if they run that 49ers type offense and they run to open up the pass, they keep teams guessing with the play action, and then they have a situation where they want to hit that dagger, that deep shot, or just a big play in general, they have a pretty accurate, quick-legged, high velocity quarterback here. It's simplified too, so it's not like it's going to be rocket science, for Stroud. So I just love the fit. I'm loving it more and more. I was going to like the fit for Stroud for anybody because I like Stroud that much, So I think he's going to play better as a rookie. People always go, rookie, he's going to suck. I don't think so here. I think people do that for a lot of rookies. And sometimes you understand why, because they do. Look at Trevor Lawrence, like a generational prospect. He really struggled his rookie year and it was great in his second year. It doesn't always have to happen, though. And then Dameon Pierce, they have Devin Singletary as well. But I look at Dameon Pierce, it's like the perfect style running back for this 49ers-like offense that they're going to run. I don't really like to call it that. It's going to be the Texans offense, but they're going to pound the football. They're going to out-physical teams. They're going to control the clock. They're going to open up those dagger-type plays in the passing game. You do worry about receiver. You wish the receivers were a little better, but they could be a little sneaky. And you forget about Dalton Schultz, too. I mean, he's a tight end, but it's part of the passing game. Like, he is a sneaky piece in the passing game, so that's actually huge. I think they'll spread the field out. Nathaniel Dell's probably going to be more productive than you think, but and they have different types of options here. They have the veteran Robert Woods, who definitely is declining big time. I was a little surprised by that contract, but I like the variety that they have. They can feed off each other. It could spread the field out kind of horizontally and vertically. Offensive line's actually good. It's got to stay healthy, I guess, but it's actually pretty solid. It's not great, but it's pretty solid, actually, believe it or not. Look at defense. Of course, they were horrendous stopping the run last year, so that's got to be better, but I think adding D'Amico Ryans in there helps right away. I mean, it's arguably the best. He's arguably the best at calling his defense, in football. Like the way he called the defense with San Francisco. I know they have big-time players, but I think he set them up, in the perfect situations to succeed. The coverages he was calling in specific scenario situations, I loved it. They add Sheldon Rankins. That'll help for stopping the run. Other pieces will help stopping the run as well. They have some linebackers they add. Denzel Perriman's a sneaky addition. Christian Harris is going to step up too, but there's pieces that they can elevate them, stepping up, stopping the run, not just the coach D'Amico Ryans, but you had Will Anderson. I know he's a rookie, but it's going to boost the pass rush instantly. It really is. And then they'll get creative too. Again, guys like Christian Harris. Secondary I like. The secondary I really like. The corners are solid, and Stingley's going to step up this year. Jalen Petrie was a stud last year. I think Ryans will use him like a Hufanga, who was all-pro safety for the 49ers last year, and Petrie's got more upside than him. So I look at this roster all the way through. Yeah, it's young. Yeah, it's inexperienced, but it's good, and there's a lot of good fit feelings in there. There's a lot of upsides, a lot of flashy, unique ways this team could win reps, win quarters, win games. So I like the Texans for this year. I don't think there's too many people predicting them 9-8. It's crazy too, because the way I was going through the schedule, it was like I was pretty firm on the 9-8, but I actually might have been, based on the schedule, the game by game, not just who you play, but the layout. I actually might, if I was, if you asked me, was I closer to 10 wins or 8 wins? Actually, the correct answer for me was probably 10, believe it or not. But you could see a scenario because they're inexperienced. What if Stroud struggles? They win 6 games. I guess you could see that, bottom line there. So I'm excited to watch the Texans this year, but going forward as well. And they've been doing a pretty good job, especially who they hired this year. And the Colts, I have winning 6 games. I'd actually watch out for the Colts starting pretty well. Kind of reminds me of the Bears a little bit, what I was talking about with them. I think they'll start pretty well. People might get a little too excited because, you can't base things off the start of the season. But I think the Colts could start well. They could beat the Jags in that opener. I definitely could see that. Mainly because they're a very tough game plan. Steichen, his style offense, tough game plan. In general, it's new. There's really no film. They might have to go back and watch some Eagles film, but early opponents, obviously, and then film starts to come out. You kind of get the hang of it a little bit. But Anthony Richardson, too. I mean, he'll struggle as a passer this year, but they're going to try to simplify things, especially early. They're going to run him a lot because he's a tank and he's very fast. That is a pain in the ass for opposing defenses to deal with. Because you don't want to chase guys around while you're trying to get into shape and trying to get into game shape. It kind of just happens. I mean, you can do conditioning all you want in preseason training camp, but it's a little different in the game. It just happens every year. But it just, so not only chasing this guy around, but just not knowing what to expect, the misdirection. Where's he going to go? Is he going to give the ball to a high-powered running back in Jonathan Taylor? Are they going to bootleg him out? Is he going to sling it deep? So they actually could be very good to start the year because that is just such a pain in the ass to deal with, to game plan for right away. So don't be surprised about that. But I do think Richardson will have his struggles, especially for when teams start to game plan properly for him. Offensive line, I don't think will be worse than last year. It was pretty bad last year, but it's declined since they were one of the best in football. It's not like it's a great offensive line anymore. The receivers, I mean, Pittman's solid. I mean, they got decent. I like the Josh Downs pick, but, it's not like a dominant receiver unit, anything like that. Kind of relying on the run game, Richardson and Taylor. I'm not completely relying on it. Those guys can make something happen. But and then you look at defensively, they got some studs like Buckner and Leonard, but they are pretty thin in the secondary, in my opinion. I like Kenny Moore, but I thought he was much better under Eberflus. And I thought he was much better in the slot, too. He's going to play outside. I mean, he's good at both, but safeties aren't bad at all, but, pass rush is going to need to step up as well. It's a little underwhelming in the defense, pretty much ever since Eberflus left, but even more so now, even though they got stars in there. Leonard, if he's on the field, Buckner, obviously. I do like the Abukum edition. That's a sneaky addition, but is it going to change this team completely? No. So I had 6-11. I think I could see them starting pretty odd. So an interesting division. It's the Jags division right now. It's been the Titans division, and they were that close to winning it last year. Even last year the Jags won, but the Titans didn't get beat up. It was their division still. Let's be honest. But the Jaguars are taking over now, and I think the Texans are. The Titans, I think, could turn it around pretty quick, believe it or not. I think they could turn it around pretty quick. But the youth, especially at quarterback, the upside, the Colts have, but mainly the Texans. I think the Texans could be, they're not going to overtake the Jags because the Jags are still going. But I think the Texans are coming. I think they'll surprise some people. I'm excited to watch them this year. So AFC South, some fun things to watch. A lot, unfortunate things. The gambling situation with the Colts, a couple players, but mainly Isaiah Rodgers having to cut him a season-long suspension. The Titans losing their starting right tackle, second-year guy, 2 to 6 games. He was betting on things other than the NFL, so that's why it's 6 games. Yeah, so I guess an interesting division because of the upside, what to expect, but because of the gambling shit too. So pretty wild. What's next? NFC South is next, which isn't the strongest division, and then we have AFC West, NFC West. We also have YouTube Shorts rolling out, kind of covering divisions. We'll do all division teams for each one. Quarterback ranking, starting quarterback ranking. So check out our shorts. We have other videos, full videos on the channel. More to come. Like, subscribe to notifications on. We have sponsors, Liquid IV, which they have new sugar-free stuff. And we have actually 25% off right now. Code GO. It's limited time. So check that out. Other sponsors, links pinned in the comments for anything you look for. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.